Do you want to improve your chess game? Well, I've assembled 5 tips which I think will greatly help you improve your chess game and take it to the next level. So without further ado, let's go. Well, one quick thing, I do stream on Twitch 3 days a week, so if you want to catch me live, check the description down below and drop me a follow on Twitch. Tip number 1. It's a real obvious one, but I'm going to put it in here on the first place, which is to train your chess tactics. Improving on your tactics will definitely help you calculate lines, make good moves, avoid blunders. I guess you already know how important tactics are. Rather than just training your tactics by doing tactics, improve the tactics you are weak at and that you're most likely to miss during an actual game. For you to know which kind of tactics you are weak at, you just need to run your game through a chess engine, and no matter what a brilliancy of a game you think you have played, the engine will crush it, and there is very likely something that you have missed. So we're gonna have a look at one of my own games in which I did not find the best move because I didn't see this specific tactic. So we're gonna pull up the board and have a look at this position. There it is. So if you want to pause the video and find the best move for yourself, I guess you should do it right about now. Oh, and it's black to move. Good luck. There's just a couple things to note. The fact that the rook is being attacked by the bishop on f4, but black is also threatening the rook on e7. The thing is, though, that neither of these things are important because there is this motive with a weak second rank towards the king. So to exploit this weakness, we could play a very nice move, which is knight to e6. The obvious question is, what happens if bishop takes b8? Well, after queen to f2 check and king h1 and rook takes c2, there's no way to stop the mate but to give up the queen, which would result in a clearly winning position for black. Even though there might be some technique required, black is winning. So going back to the initial position, and we play knight e6. The best move according to the engine would be rook d7, but then black will take the bishop, and now black is up a pawn, has the more active pieces, and the white pawn structure is in ruins. The white king is weak, so this would also be a joy to play with black. So going through that game learned me that doing tactics revolving around the second rank or a weak king is a type of tactics that I might need to revise and improve upon. And just like that, when you would do this to your own games, I am confident you are able to find certain ideas that you have missed, that you never thought of, and hopefully that will give you some guidance as to which kind of tactics you should start improving right now. Moving on to tip number 2, learn from your mistakes. I've had some very upsetting losses where I felt like I never had a chance. You have to be able to look objectively at your own games so that you're able to find the actual mistakes that you have made. So there's some mistakes like stress related or time management related, which I'm not going to really discuss upon any further, but you do need to be able to learn from your mistakes, whether or not it was because you didn't know the opening you were playing, or maybe you were clueless in the middle game because you couldn't find the correct plan, or maybe the rook endgame was, you just didn't know how to play that. So, objectively looking at your game, finding out where the problems are will definitely help you to know which types of mistakes you need to avoid in the future. If you're having a hard time to find these type of mistakes, or like you don't know how you can improve your chess because you don't understand the mistakes you're making, it might be a good idea to ask a better chess player to have a look at your games and see what they think went wrong for you during that game. There's also in the description down below a Discord link where we have a channel for your games. So if you want to post your game there and let me have a look at them, I'll be happy to help you out so we can all start improving our chess game. Tip number 3, understanding chess strategy. I'm deliberately saying understanding because that's your starting point if you want to improve your chess game, is to understand chess strategy. The hard part with chess strategy is that it is not so easy to learn and understand as with tactics, because when you are doing tactics, you are solving a puzzle basically, because you're gaining material, or you're giving a checkmate, or you're creating a threat that is undefendable. The thing with a strategic advantage is that you are positioning yourself in such a way that it could result in material gain. The hard part is that you need to understand this type of strategic advantages, what they mean, and how this should affect your game plan. So without trying to cover this huge subject, which every player in the world pretty much can still improve upon, let's just talk about 3 concepts that have a strategic meaning, and hopefully I'm able to convey to you why such strategic advantages are very important. The first strategic concept that I want to show to you guys is the space advantage. So we're going to pull up a chessboard, and here we have a very unrealistic position, but that's not really the point. A space advantage is defined by the pawns. The further your pawns are down the board, the more space you have for your pieces to move safely behind. So in this example, let's say that we are playing with white and we are deciding to try and direct our play towards the king side where the king is currently at. For white, it's very easy, for example, to switch over his rook towards the king side, to jump the knight over towards the king side, and even if he wants to, he can put the bishop here, bearing down this diagonal. So having a space advantage means in general that it's much easier for the side with more space to reroute its pieces to the desired square or side of the board, which could result in a fact that you can create threats with 4 pieces, and by the time your opponent is able to defend against these threats, you have already redirected all your pieces, because thanks to the more space you have, you can more quickly get your pieces to where they need to go, as opposed to your opponent. Due to a lack of space, it is much harder for them to reorganize their pieces. Another strategic concept is a connected passed pawn. The thing is, a connected passed pawn is something that your opponent always needs to take account of. So if we go look at this position, the pawn on g5 is a connected passed pawn. So the black king needs to always stay in proximity of the pawn, because otherwise he just runs. Just a small tip, you draw a square. If the black king gets outside the square, then you can run. If the king is able to get into the square, then it's able to catch up. So at this specific moment, the black king is in the square, so you're not ready to start pushing. But this means the black king is confined towards that square I just drew, while your own king is able to just go towards, for example, these pawns, and going to win both of them, and then this pawn just runs. So yeah, that's another example of a strategic advantage with a connected passed pawn, and how, even though the material is equal, this should result in white winning the game. If you know and understand what strategically is sound, then you're also able to make better decisions and upon which moves are good and which one you shouldn't play. Tip number 4. Understanding the openings you play rather than relying on memorizing all the different lines. Because a lot of people tend to want to win right out of the opening, or get like an attacking game right off the bat. If you play the opening, you should try and aim to get yourself into a position out of the opening that allows for you to play a position you enjoy and in which you're good at. So let's say you're a very sharp player and you want to go for attacking chess, then your opening repertoire should be designed toward that goal. Whereas other players tend to want to go for a more quiet game, their opening repertoire could look a lot different. So when you're studying openings, try not to focus as much on specific lines, but more on the bigger picture of what your goals and aims are in certain variations, and what are things to watch out for your opponent, to have these things in the back of your head whenever you're going through an opening. That will be a lot more useful to you when you're playing a game of chess than you knowing 10 moves in, and from there on, you're on your own. So if you want to find out what kind of openings or what kind of chess player you are, there's this awesome site called chesspersonality.com. The link is in the description below. Go check it out, fill out the questions, and find out which opening suits your style the most. Last but not least, tip number 5, join a chess club. I think the most important reason for you to join a chess club is the fact that you will start to play what we call classical chess. These are games of chess with a very long time control. If you've never played classical chess, then these games might be sounding very boring because you get like an hour and a half a person at least, and the games could last like 3 to 4 hours. But I guarantee you, the time will fly by. You will delve into the position a lot deeper than you're used to. You might find other things. You might get a whole new appreciation of the game. And besides that, that will already start to help you improve your game. You're likely to run into very strong players there who can teach you a lot. You are more consistent in every week. You are likely to play a serious game of chess. And after the game, you frequently analyze the game with your opponent just to run through your ideas, what they were thinking, what you were thinking, and to check if your variations ran out. And these type of games, I highly recommend, especially the ones you lose, to analyze very well, because you can learn the most from these games. So these were my 5 tips on how to improve your chess game. I hope you gained something out of this video. If you do, please leave a like. Don't forget to subscribe. And if there are any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them in the comments down below.